Hello everyone, we are back. This is Kuribon and Cloud Titan. As promised, we are bringing you the partner deck to Exodia. Cloud, how you doing?
I'm doing just fine.
Fantastic. Now, I mentioned last time that this is the perfect ally deck that we put together literally just for Exodia, because this thing will not stand on its own for anything. So, let's get into it and show why it has no staying power all by itself in a single duel. Please only use this with either a bad reaction Samochi deck, which is a type of burn, or this Exodia deck that we've already given you previously. So let's get into this. We have 3 Burning Algaes. Basically, anytime it goes to the graveyard, doesn't matter if it's from your deck, from your hand, from the field. If it just touches the graveyard, bam, 1,000 life points to your opponent. So, as we stated in the Exodia deck, you want to force feed life points to your opponent so that the Exodia player can play Hope for Escape and draw massive amounts of cards. This is a good card to do it with, especially if it's your first turn. You can set it, because most decks will only play out one big monster on their first turn. So it's a good way to force feed life points and stall without using an actual stall. Speaking of that kind of version, we have Kuribon. We only need one in this deck because of its effect. What is the effect, Cloud?
The effect is that whenever your opponent decides to attack this card, you can bounce it back to your hand, and your opponent will gain life points based on the attack of the attacking monster instead of you taking any damage.
Correct. So if you're looking at a Grapha who has Gates of the Dark World up, that's a 3,300 life point boost to them. Now, I mentioned Dark World because it's one I've actually gone against quite frequently. There are plenty of other decks, obviously. So, most of these decks will have a high attack monster, especially Utopias, who just love to stack on stack on stack attack damage. So, the bigger the monster, the better for you. Kuribon will forever live on. As you can see, we have some standard cards in here yet again. Battle Fader and Swift Scarecrow, obviously for the stall. However, something you did not see in our previous video was Zero Gardna. This card is sort of like a Cyber Valley, except a much upgraded version. What Zero Gardna will do is, on your opponent's turn, you can decide to activate the effect at any given time. If he's going to destroy your monsters, if he's going to do anything that would even remotely target either this card specifically or in your entire field, you can activate the effect. It acts just like Waboku. Exactly like Waboku. You will not lose any monsters, you will take no damage. Very, very good. Awesome to have in the deck. 3 Upstart Goblins, yet again. 1 day of peace. Now, why do we have Dark World Dealings in this deck?
Dark World Dealings is in this deck specifically for getting Burning Algae to the graveyard. If you have it in both these cards in your hand, you can play a Dark World Dealings, get Burning Algae to the graveyard, instant 1,000 life points for your opponent.
And you draw a card in the process. So, it gives you a chance at a stall card. This entire deck is stall and feeding life points. Now, I say that with the claim of that's the obvious intention. However, you will see below there are the standard draw power cards. Those aren't for you unless someone tries to destroy them. Then they're for you. Otherwise, it's for the Exodia player. Now, we have Dark Cure in the deck. You only need one because it is a continuous trap. Its effect alone will screw over your opponent's chances of ever losing life points, because half of the attack of the monster summoned, whenever it's resolved summoned. So all the modifiers it would gain count towards Dark Cure. So if a monster is normally a 2,800 attack damage and it gets all these modifiers to become a 4,500 attack damage, Dark Cure will register as a 4,500 attack damage monster instead of a 28. I don't think that's even possible, but I'm just making an example. So what it does is it takes half that attack and gives them life points. Now, obviously, we want this for either a Samochi deck as your partner or an Exodia deck as your partner. Now, Cloud, what is so awesome about Eye of Truth?
Eye of Truth is such an amazing card. It actually shows you your opponent's hand and any cards that they set while this card is active. Also, while this card is active, as long as your opponent has a magic card during their standby phase, they will gain 1,000 life points.
So, what you're saying is you force feed them life points because they're holding on the magic cards, and if you're using the Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro client like us, you can see the cards they set?
Yes.
Wow, that's not strong or anything. Holy crap. I'm so glad I put this in. So, going back to the standards, as you can see, we have 3 gift cards yet again, 3 Jar of Greeds, 3 Legacy of Yata-Garasu. Let's not get into why they're there. You know it. Waboku. Again, 0 Gardena is the same thing. So essentially, you have 6 of these in your deck. No battle damage, no destroyed monsters. Very good if you can get a Battle Fader on the field and your Exodia player has a Cyber Valley in hand who can normal summon his Cyber Valley and target the Battle Fader to draw 2 cards. Very strong. Now, a different card you see in here is Thunder of Ruler. I love this card. Cloud, why do I love it?
This card is amazing because at your opponent's standby phase, you can activate this card, and it automatically makes it so your opponent cannot conduct their battle phase. You can also use it as a chain for the Exodia player to get into the accumulated fortunes.
Nice. So what you're saying is you can either gift it as a stall card for your buddy, or use it yourself to make sure they do not do a battle phase.
Correct.
Awesome. And then Threatening Roar essentially does the same thing, except you can activate it whenever. One thing to note. If your opponent declares an attack and you try to chain it, their attack will still go through, but the other monsters on the field cannot attack. Or if that monster would be allowed to attack a second time, like Blackluster Soldier, Envoy of the Beginning, or, say... There's a couple of monsters that can do it.
There's the XYZ.
There's the XYZ, there's a Blade Armored Ninja, there's,
Gusto.
Thank you. There's one more that I'm trying... Mataza. That's an old card right there. So, if they have a monster that will do a second attack, you can actually negate the second attack, but the first one will go through. So keep that in mind. Whenever they end their main phase is usually the best time to use Threatening Roar, unless you know they're just going to go straight to end phase. So, it's a bit of a gamble, but it's always the safe thing to do. Anyway, that is the Super Life Point deck, as I call it. So we're going to go over a quick couple of combos. As Cloud mentioned, Dark World Dealing and Burning Algae is an awesome hand combo. Try to save Dark World Dealings for Burning Algae. Otherwise, it seems like a waste of a card. Or you can set it for your Exodia buddy who needs to filter through. Let's say they have one too many stall cards or a Reckless Greed they want to get rid of. I'm hating on Reckless Greed and I probably shouldn't. But Dark World Dealings, they can use that, discard a card, and draw a fresh card. Not only does that deck thin for them to try and get Exodia faster, but it gives them a chance at a better card. So, if you cannot use it for Burning Algae, give it to your partner. This deck is literally all about your partner. You have no stopping power. You have no high attack damage. In fact, the highest attack damage you have is Burning Algae at whopping 500 attack. So, please don't run this in a single duel. Cloud, any notes?
When you're partnering this deck along with the Exodia deck, be extremely careful with Hope for Escape. I personally have drawn out the entire deck with 1 Hope for Escape.
What he means is we ran this together and 1 Hope for Escape gave him 18 cards.
Yeah.
Whoo! That was amazing. He only needed to draw 16, so we lost. But the point of the matter is, it is a very powerful ally. So, guys, thanks for tuning in. Again, I am Kurumakai, and I have Cloud Titan with me.
Yos.
Yeah, he says goodbye. Alright, guys. Talk to you later again. Comments or questions, put them down below. I will also have the deck list in the description. Of course, you'll probably see that before the end of the video. Either way, thanks for tuning in, guys.